Who doesn't love busting out a simple beat 'em up? Ah, those satisfying sounds of kicking the crap out of baddies. This will be a quick reference guide to all the beat 'em up games on the NES. I won't be going into too much detail here, so let's get this started, going in alphabetical order. The Adventures of Bayou Billy, also known as Mad City in Japan, is what I like to call a variety beat 'em up. Instead of every stage being strictly beat 'em up, there's a gallery shooter stage where you control the cursor with the D-pad, or a light gun if you have it, and there's also a stage where you're driving a Jeep around, dodging vehicles and obstacles. The American version is ridiculously difficult. Play the Japanese version, Mad City, if you want a fairer challenge. You may know of Bad Dudes because of this ridiculous opener. Are you a bad enough dude to save the president? Say no more, I'm in! This game has outstanding music and very satisfying ass-kicking sounds. I also like its emphasis on multiple level tactics. Take the high ground. Oh, and at the end of every stage, pump up that volume to 11 for this. I'm bad. Speaking of bad, stay clear of Bad Street Brawler. This game is just awful. It was originally designed to work with Power Glove, and we all know how well that went. Just look at this game. What the hell is this? Back to some good games. Batman Returns is an all-around well-polished game. The cutscenes have beautiful pixel art, the music is fantastic, the stages are detailed, and the beatdown sound effects are very satisfying. Your moveset is versatile too. Love that slide attack. Battletoads is another variety beat 'em up. It mixes your standard fare of ass-kicking with tricky platforming and instant reaction time sections. It has a great soundtrack and sound effects to boot. However, this game is very unforgiving in difficulty. You can see my NES hard video for more details there. If you want a game with a similar feel to Battletoads but more forgiving difficulty, maybe Battletoads and Double Dragon will suit you. This one is more along the lines of a standard beat 'em up. It still mixes in those occasional obstacle dodging and instant reaction times. However, there is a Super Nintendo version of this game that's better in every way. Onto the Double Dragon Trilogy. This series is largely responsible for popularizing modern beat 'em ups. I love the simplicity of the story. No text or dialogue needed here. Great music and beatdown sound effects, well-designed stages, other than some awkward platforming sections. This game is really tough with only 3 lives and no continues. A cool feature is you gain experience to level up and gain new abilities. If you're only going to play one of the Double Dragons, make it the second though. This one is a slightly more polished version of the original. One key addition is a co-op mode. You also now have 3 difficulties to choose from. You start off with all the moves in your arsenal this time, including that overpowered flying knee. However, it still has the downside of the original, some awkward and instant death platforming sections, especially towards the end of the game. The series kept getting better and better, so the third must be incredible, right? No, definitely not. Was anyone complaining that having 3 lives in the old Double Dragons was too much? You only get 1 life here. If you get far enough, you do gain access to 2 other characters to swap to on the fly, a Kung Fu Master and a Ninja. In addition to the difficulty issues, the controls are overly stiff. The music is mediocre and the stages are boring too. Skip this one. Double Dragon may be the godfather of modern beat 'em ups, but Kung Fu was the OG beat 'em up. The NES port is pretty faithful to the arcade game too. It's a very simple and short game with a fair challenge to it. The on-hit sound effects are great, and the graphics and animations are serviceable. The controls are very stiff though, as a product of its times. Still, a classic. Last Action Hero, however, is not a classic. The controls are stiff and every action seems to have a wind-up before it comes out. It's very awkward to work with. This game looks awful, plays clunky, and there really is not anything unique done here. Did you know there was a version of Final Fight on the NES called Mighty Final Fight? It even was released after the SNES port came out. It's pretty amazing how much they fit into this port. You can play as Cody, Guy, or Haggard. And similar to the original Double Dragon, there's a leveling system to gain new abilities. This is a well-polished game that any beat 'em up fan, and especially Final Fight fan, would enjoy. Plus, it has a comedical touch to it in the facial expressions, animations, and dialogue. Prisoners of War, or POW, is a very generic beat 'em up and a lazy arcade port. The AI is frustratingly bad. Like, check it out here, I just have a dance-off with one of them randomly stabbing at the air. The hit detection is lousy, there's no environmental interactions, and the animations are lazily done. For a slightly more polished but still generic beat 'em up, there's always Renegade. This is the precursor to Double Dragon. Despite being developed by Technos, it doesn't have the charm of City Ransom with its exaggerated facial expressions. It's a short game that controls well, it's just overly simplistic. There's no weapons here, no environmental interactions, and what's with your jump kicks making a squeak noise? City Ransom is a unique beat 'em up by Technos. You choose when you want to fight, and you can decide multiple paths to take. You gain money from beating up the baddies, and you can stop at malls to find various shops to improve your stats and add more abilities. However, the items in the shop don't have any description on their effects, just guess by name. Most people remember this game mainly for its personality. There's many exaggerated facial expressions, ridiculous sayings, and a variety of gangs who differ in aggression level and tactics. I'm not sure why it was done, but Renegade got a sequel called Target Renegade. However, it plays worse than the original in nearly every way. Also, you only have one life here. Just stick with the original. Turtles beat-em-ups did not start on the SNES. There actually were two of them on the NES. The first one is a bit more simplistic, like there's no grabbing, and your special effects don't even use up any life. The game ends up being how well can you consistently use that special attack. It has some decent cutscenes, graphics, and sound. It's an okay game, but pales in comparison to Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project. It's a well-polished beat-em-up that improves on the second in every way. There's more varieties of enemies and stages, the graphics and color palette choices are better, you can throw enemies, and the special attack is no longer as broken. It uses some health when you use it. The jump kick is really versatile in this one, I love it. You have a ton of control over exactly where you want to land with it. Remember the Toxic Crusaders cartoon? No? Neither do I. This is an ugly looking game with uninteresting enemies and stages. It also is really awkward to control with select being your most powerful attack. Congratulations, you made it to the end. Of all these games, if I had to make a top 5 recommended list, it would go in no particular order. Double Dragon 2, Batman Returns, Mighty Final Fight, TMNT 3, The Manhattan Project, and Battletoads. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a radical day.